Our next topic is Euler-Tauschen function. We start with the definition. For any integer n greater than 1, Euler-Tauschen function is denoted by phi of n and is defined as the number of elements less than n and relatively prime to n. That is, for any integer n, we define phi of n as number of elements less than n and relatively prime to n. For n equal to 1, we define phi of 1 as 1. So there is a table. For n equal to 1, we define phi of 1 as 1. So phi of 1 is 1. Phi of 2 is nothing but 1. That is, number of elements less than 2 and relatively prime to 2 are 1. Then for n equal to 3, elements less than 3 and relatively prime to 3 are 1 and 2. Therefore, phi of 3 is 2. Total number of elements 2. For n equal to 4, number of elements strictly less than 4 and relatively prime to 4 are 1 and 3. Therefore, we will get phi of 4 as 2. For 5, we will get phi of 5 as 4 because the elements less than 5 and relatively prime to 5 are 1, 2, 3 and 4. For n equal to 6, we will get phi of 6 equal to 2. Phi of 7 is 6. Phi of 8 is 4. Phi of 9 is 6. And phi of 10 is 4. So we move on to some properties of Euler-Tauschen function. First property is for any prime p, phi of p is p minus 1. That is, we take any prime number, let it be 7. So phi of 7, we will get 6. That is, number of elements less than 7 and relatively prime to 7 are 6. Because if you take any prime number, the elements less than that number is always relatively prime to that number. Here, elements less than 7 are relatively prime to 7 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. All the elements less than 7 are relatively prime to n. Therefore, phi of 7 is 6. Therefore, for any prime number p, phi of p is p minus 1. Next, second condition, phi of mn is phi of m into phi of n whenever GCD of m and n is 1. That is, if GCD of two number is 1, then we can write phi of mn as phi of m into phi of n. For example, consider the number 10. 10 can be written as 2 into 5. Prime product of two prime numbers. So phi of 10 can be written as phi of 2 into phi of 5 because GCD of 2 and 5 is 1. Now, since 2 and 5 are prime number, phi of 2 is 1 and phi of 5 is 4. Therefore, we will get phi of 10 as 4. Then third property, for any prime p, phi of p power n is equal to p power n minus 1 into p minus 1. For example, consider the number 8. 8 can be written as 2 cube, power of a prime. Then phi of 8 can be written as phi of 2 cube. Phi of 2 cube is nothing but 2 power 3 minus 1, that is 2 square into 2 minus 1, which is equal to 4. So we can use any of these three properties to find the Euler-Tauschen function of a number. So move on to definition, reduced residue system. By a reduced residue system modulo m, we mean any set of phi of m integers incongruent modulo m, each of which is relatively prime to m. So we already know what is residue system. Residue system A cap is nothing but the collection of all those elements x such that x is congruent to A modulo m. Then we define complete residue system. Complete residue system means the m representative of the residue system which are incongruent modulo m. So incongruent modulo m and the m representatives. Then we define a reduced residue system. Reduced residue system means incongruent modulo m and is relatively prime to m. That is complete residue system plus relatively prime to m. This is the definition. So we start with the residue system, then we define complete residue system. Complete residue system is the m representative of residue system which are incongruent modulo m. Now we define reduced residue system, which is nothing but complete residue system plus relatively prime. Each element of that set is relatively prime to m. This is the definition for reduced residue system. So we move on to next theorem. if A1 set A1, A2, etc. A phi of M is a reduced residue system modulo M, and if GCD of K and M is 1, then set K A1, K A2, etc. K A phi of M is also a reduced residue system modulo M. So given that set A1, A2, etc. A phi of M is a reduced residue system modulo M. That means all these elements are incongruent modulo M and relatively prime to M. So we have to prove that the collection Ka1, Ka2, etc. Kam are also reduced residue system. We already know that Ka1, Ka2, etc. Kam are complete residue system. So it's enough to show that they are relatively prime to M. So we take Kai and M. GCD of Kai and M is D, which is strictly greater than 1. Then we'll get a contradiction. Let's check. Okay, so we take any of the element Kai and M is GCD of any of the Kai and M is D, which is strictly greater than 1. And we take P be a prime factor of D. P be a prime factor of D. That means P must divide D. Now, P divides D. D is the GCD of K, A, I and M. That means P divides K, A, I and P divides M. Now, since GCD of AI and M is 1, because given that set A1, A2, etc. A phi of M is a reduced residue system. Therefore, GCD of AI and M is always 1 because they are relatively prime to M. Therefore, we will get P divides K and P divides M. Otherwise, we will get P divides AI and P divides M. We will get a contradiction here. Therefore, we will get P divides K and P divides M. That means GCD of K and M is not equal to 1, which is a contradiction because given that GCD of K and M is 1. Therefore, we will get GCD of KAI and M is equal to 1 for every integer Kai. That means every element of the set Ka1, Ka2, etc. Ka phi of M is relatively prime to M. Therefore, this form a reduced residue system modulo M. Move on to next theorem, Euler-Fermat theorem. Assume GCD of A and M is 1, then we have A raised to phi of M congruent to 1 mod M. So we consider a reduced residue system. Let us equal to A1, A2, etc. A phi of M is a reduced residue system modulo M. We consider the set. Given that GCD of AM is 1. So since GCD of AM is 1, we can use the previous theorem to say that A1, A2, etc. A phi of M is also a reduced residue system modulo M. That is, for each AI belongs to S, there exists a unique representation. We can take it as T. For each element AI in S, there is a unique representation AAIJ in T, such that AI congruent to AAJ mod M. So S is a reduced residue system, and here we get set A1, A2, etc. A phi of M is also a reduced residue system. Therefore, if you take any element from S, that must be congruent to any of the element in T. Therefore, we will get AI congruent to AAJ modulo M. That means A1, A2, etc. A phi of M is congruent to a1, a2, etc. a phi of m modulo m. That means if we take any element from S, there is a congruent element in T. Therefore, if we take every element in S, that element must be congruent to any of the element in T. Therefore, we'll get A1 is congruent to any of the element in T. A2 is congruent to any of the element in T, etc. A phi of M is congruent to any of the element in T. Therefore, we can write A1 into A2 into etc. A phi of M is congruent to A1, A2, etc. A phi of M modulo M. Right side we can take A outside, that is A raised to phi of M into A1, A2, etc. A phi of M modulo M. Therefore, A1, A2, etc. A phi of M congruent to A raised to phi of M into A1, A2, etc. A phi of M mod M. Then by a known theorem we can write 1 congruent to A raised to phi of M mod M. Because A1, A2, etc. A phi of M are relatively prime to M. Therefore, we can cancel these two from the two sides. Therefore, 1 congruent to A raised to phi of M mod M. That means A raised to phi of M congruent to 1 mod M. This is Euler-Fermat's theorem. Hence the proof. Next theorem. If a prime P does not divide A, then A raised to P minus 1 congruent to 1 mod P. So, given that P does not divide A. P does not divide A means we will get GCD of A and P is 1. That is GCD of A and P is 1. Then we can use the previous theorem. If GCD of A and P is 1, A raised to phi of P is congruent to 1 mod P by Euler-Fermat's theorem. Now, A raised to phi of P congruent to 1 mod P, and where phi of P is nothing but P minus 1. For any prime P, Euler-Torsion function phi of P is nothing but P minus 1. Therefore, we can rewrite this as A raised to P minus 1 congruent to 1 mod P. Next theorem, Little-Fermat's theorem. For any integer A and any prime P, we have A raised to P congruent to 1 mod P. Then there are two cases. First case is P does not divide A. Then by previous theorem we can write A raised to P minus 1 congruent to 1 mod P. Then that implies A raised to P congruent to A mod P. That means we multiply A both sides, we will get A raised to P congruent to A mod P. And now the second case is P does not divide A. Consider the case P does not divide, P divides A. P divides A. Then we will get P divides A raised to P also. That means P divides A and P divides A raised to P means P divides the combination A raised to P minus A. That means A raised to P minus A congruent to 0 mod P. That means A raised to P congruent to A mod P. From two cases we will get A raised to P congruent to A mod P. Next theorem, if GCD of A and M is 1, the solution unique modulo M of the linear congruence Ax congruent to B mod M is given by X congruent to B into A power phi of M minus 1 modulo M. This the statement is if GCD of A M equal to 1, then we know that Ax congruent to B mod M has exactly one solution, and the solution is given by X congruent to B A raised to phi of M minus 1 modulo M. So we use Euler-Fermat's theorem. Since GCD of AM is 1, we can use Euler-Fermat's theorem. That is nothing but A raised to phi of M congruent to 1 mod M. So we multiply B both side, A raised to phi of M into B congruent to B mod M. That implies we split the left side as A into A raised to phi of M minus 1 into B congruent to B mod M. Here we can see that consider the congruence AX congruent to B mod M. Since GCD of A and M is 1, it has a unique solution. Here instead of x we can write A raised to phi of M minus 1 into B, that is A raised to phi of M minus 1 into B satisfies the congruence AX congruent to B mod M. Therefore B into A raised to phi of M minus 1 is the unique solution of the congruence AX congruent to B mod M. Next there is a problem, solve the congruence 5x congruent to 3 mod 24. Here A equal to 5, B equal to 3 and M equal to 24. Here GCD of A and M is nothing but GCD of 5 and 24, which is equal to 1. Therefore the congruence has a unique solution, and the solution is given by x congruent to B A raised to phi of M minus 1 mod M. So substitute the values, that is x congruent to B is nothing but 3, 3 into A is 5, 5 raised to phi of 24 minus 1 mod M. Now phi of 24 is phi of 3 into 2 cube, that is phi of 3 into phi of 2 cube. Phi of 3 is 2, phi of 2 cube is 2 square into 2 minus 1, that is equal to 8. So we will get x congruent to 3 into 5 raised to phi of 24 is 8, 8 minus 1 is 7 modulo M, M modulo 24. This is the solution. Now we can simplify this as we have phi square is congruent to 1 mod 24, because 25 minus 1 is divisible by 24. Now phi square whole cube, phi square whole cube is congruent to 1 mod 24. We take cube both side, so phi square whole cube congruent to 1 cube mod 24, that is 5 raised to 6 congruent to 1 mod 24. Now multiply 5 both side, will get 5 raised to 7 congruent to 5 mod 24. So instead of 5 raised to 7 we can write 5, that is x congruent to 3 into 5 mod 24. That is the solution is x congruent to 15 mod 24. Any element congruent to 15 satisfies the congruence. Therefore x congruent to 15 mod 24 is the solution of the congruence.